I mean, we just screened it for the first time.
I know.
I feel very
The Prime Minister of Canada hadn't seen it yet.
Did making this film remind you of the person that you try to be?
Oh,
That's a good one.
that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, be like John is a pretty good sort of mission as a human. I mean, he was such a kind-hearted, sweet man. He was very sincere. And I think there's a lot about John and his personality that I think is worthy to aspire to, for sure.
Yeah, it's like you look up to for us, it's looking up to our parents and finding the good qualities in them that you want to, mimic and achieve and be like. You don't want to be them, but you want to have similar morals. And I think going through this whole process of making the documentary and revisiting like archival, photos and of video clips and seeing how he interacted with his family and his friends was very heartwarming, because it kind of brought you back to that, that childhood memory of like going, okay, we had a really good childhood. Like it was filled with love and kindness and caring. And so I think that's how we made the documentary. Like I think everything we put into it, Colin was saying, like, it was always this is going to be a celebration of life, and it was.
Yeah, and that comes through. Bill Murray has a hilarious joke at the beginning of the documentary where he talks about how he wishes that he had some horrible stories about John Kennedy. He doesn't have any.
No.
But I mean, a question for the filmmaker. Is it hard making a documentary about someone so nice?
Yeah, it is. It is. But I always knew that was going to be the challenge. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that John was worthy of having a documentary about his life and his career. But what does that actually look like? What is that story that actually needs to be told? And it's challenging because more often than not in the doc space, it's someone's got some hidden inner demons that is a real nefarious side or something like that. And John quite simply didn't have that, really. But what I found to be really interesting and ended up being the thing that sort of like the genesis for me being involved was understanding that he had suffered a serious, traumatic experience losing his dad at a young age, and the imprint that left on him, I thought was incredibly powerful, and that the coping mechanisms that resulted, that were a result of his childhood, becoming the thing that made him so special and so unique. John was an everyman, and I thought it was so fascinating that his struggles are the same kind of struggles that everyone has, and that was actually worthy of exploring. It doesn't have to be this big, drug addiction, or, it doesn't have to be this evil kind of thing. It can be very personable. It can be very human, because that's who John was, to his core. So, yeah, there were definitely a lot of people that were like, yeah, John was really nice. And you're like, okay, but can you give me a little bit more? But for the most part, I knew that was going to be sort of the overall challenge. And it was fun to try and see how we could tell that story sort of around that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's actually part of what makes him special in comedy in general, because I think about the moment he emerged in, where he had a lot of cynical, like wise guy type comics. I think about Chevy Chase and Bill Murray and Steve Martin, and John Candy was always bright and always approachable and personable. And do you think that was a strategy on his part in terms of his career?
And I don't necessarily think it was a strategy. I just think that was just how he approached it.
That was his personality, and how he brought himself to the character, and that was just him shining through. I think that and that was a testament to his persona, both on and off screen.
Chris, Jennifer, let me just ask you guys, I hope this isn't too hard a question, but what's the hardest part for you to watch in this documentary?
Different parts hit at different times.
Yeah.
I noticed last night that I was more emotional in newer sections of the film. And one I can kind of share is this film really works as a companion piece to his other movies. And I used to watch like the film Great Outdoors and really not think much of it. It was a fun comedy. It was, brought up a lot of memories. But knowing maybe what he was experiencing and the connection that we kind of make in the film about him creating the father he always maybe wanted to have, that came out of the birth of this film and is absolutely true. I think he was kind of looking for that influence, or at least someone to have his back through his career. And when you see movies like that, they bring up new feelings and they have a new kind of essence to them now.
When I'm watching this documentary, my initial connection to John Candy was Splash, and I was that 12-year-old who loved that movie.
Oh, yeah.
But I just also remember the moment watching JFK and being like, this guy can do anything.
Yeah.
He can do anything. And I wonder, do you think that would have been the next chapter for him, like really going dramatic?
I think so.
I
yeah.
do. I think so. I think JFK was definitely one of the many stepping stones that he laid out for himself. And, opening another avenue and a door, and the fact that he got the opportunity to play Dean Andrews and JFK was just phenomenal.
And comedy was kind of changing. I feel like
Yeah.
at the time he passed away, movies like Wagons East, I remember watching movies, I just felt like comedies were changing and going more towards the, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, kind of mockumentary era. And I think he would have gone into some more drama or done some more interesting kind of fun, explorative comedy.
Did you show your dad a cut? Did he give you
No.
advice?
No. I haven't shown him a cut. No, he hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So, when
I mean,
you're-
we just screened it for the first time.
I know. Come on.
I feel very
The
privileged.
Prime Minister of Canada hadn't seen it yet, so,
Right.
don't feel too bad for him.
So when you're feeling like you want to connect with John Candy, what's your go-to? What's your comfort candy film? What's
Oh, that's a
I mean,
good one,
just
comfort candy film.
don't think too hard about it. What's the one you're like, I gotta watch this one?
Oh, jeez. I mean,
Right. Cool Runnings right now. I love
Cool-
Cool,
oh,
I love
yeah?
Cool Runnings
Oh.
because I'm in Canada and it's making me feel the Olympics, and we were up in Calgary. We went to Jamaica and then we were in Calgary when he was shooting that. I love Cool Runnings. It's just such a feel-good, happy movie.
that's a good one. So yeah, I can understand that.
I think Delirious too. It reminds me of the times that we were around Only the Lonely. We would visit those sets as kids, and really strong memories that they kind of bring up.
I think it's those scenes in Home Alone for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just something about, you can see his wheels you can see his brain working, and him interacting with Catherine, and that sort of back and forth, and all that improv that they were doing. But he just has this warmth to him, where it's just a great performance.
Those are great. As a final question, and thank you for these thoughtful answers. Let's talk about the title of your film, I Like Me. And I watched that piece of acting from Planes, Trains, Automobiles, and I feel like it's the peak of what he did, the sincerity. Was that the obvious pick for you for your title? And what does that line mean for you now?
It's actually pretty interesting. So initially, as I was, in the stumbling block stage of trying to wrap my head around what the film would be, I sort of landed at that title, and it sort of seemed right. And then we were having conversations, and
You didn't love it at first.
Yeah.
You were unsure if that was
I
the right.
always did love it. I loved it. I'm gonna put it out there. It is. I before everyone else
guess-
knew. I already knew that it was gonna be. That's what.
Well,
it was
If
gonna
you
be
know the
called.
scene.
Yeah.
If you know the scene and I don't know. It's just for me, I was like, nope, that's what it is. They'll get to that point eventually. But
It was one of the first pieces that was created for the film, so it was kind of like naming your record before you wrote the music for
Right.
it. So
Yeah.
when the movie was finished, it was a perfect title for the movie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we went through a couple of different titles, and there are a ton that I absolutely loved, but
Yeah.
there's just no way that we could actually do that for whatever, myriad of reasons. And so we ended up sort of coming back to it, and it just was kind of like, yeah, that was going to be it all along.